pals, welcome back to my channel. This is Tina Books. This is my first reading vlog. I'm so delighted to finally share this with you. This was one of the ideas I first had when crafting my channel. Most of you know I host a podcast every Tuesday called Book Talk, etc. And every Tuesday we are sharing, my co-host Hannah and I are sharing 3 book recommendations each week, which means that I average about, between 2 and 3 books a week read. Kind of sounds crazy to say that out loud, but that's how it goes. So my vision for this channel was to give you a little bit of behind the scenes and podcast production and just sort of my reading cadence. And with that, I thought it would be fun to vlog some of it. I have found that because I'm such a mood reader, I'm always reading ahead. I'm always reading a bunch of books at one time. So it's not as though I just sit down and say, okay, these are the 3 books I'm reading this week and then get through them. It's a lot choppier than that, but I think I can put it together into something interesting. So in this video, you'll see me have my initial reaction to one of my books, and then I'll just share my thoughts here on the other 2 books that I'm bringing. I also have a little bit of a thrift haul and a bookstore visit. So let's get into it. First book that I read this week is called Clean by Alia, Trubucco, Zehran, and this one had a lot of good potential. It's told from the point of view of a maid. It takes place in Chile, and she is basically being interrogated for something. You as the reader don't know what quite yet, although you do know that the young girl that was under her care has died at the family home. And so she is talking to someone with that. This book is very slow. It's pretty literary, pretty character driven. I enjoyed a lot about it, but I will say it was just a little bit too slow even for me, which says a lot because I don't mind slow, but I felt like it didn't really go that far. The author did have a lot of interesting things to say about politics, about aging, and about classism. Those elements I really appreciated, but the plot was nothing happens really. Very little happens. There's also a dog, and I will mention that the dog does die in this book. It's not overly gruesome, but that is a part of it. So just want to mention that because I know a lot of readers won't read anything if the animal dies. So that one was Clean. I gave it about 3 stars. The next book that I finished for this week is the sequel by Hanff, Korelitz. This one is a highly recommend from me. It is the sequel to a book called The Plot. And I read The Plot when it first came out. I absolutely loved it. I'll tell you about the plot first because you definitely need to read the plot first before you read the sequel because they follow each other pretty closely. But the plot is about this author named Jacob Bonner, and he basically steals what he considers to be the perfect story, the perfect premise from one of his students who passed away. And then he starts getting threatening messages from people who seem to know more about the origins of the story than he would like. And the story goes from there. It's a caper. It's a typical story of an author behaving badly, and I loved it. I thought it was so clever and so intricate. I wasn't expecting a sequel to it. I didn't walk away from that book thinking we needed one, but here we are. It is about Jacob's wife. Her name is Anna, and she decided that she wants a literary career of her own. She writes a book, and then all of a sudden she starts getting some threatening messages similar in tone to that from her husband. I'll leave that there. Don't read the back of this book. It's definitely a spoiler for the plot. So if you want to read either of these, start with the plot and then go to the sequel. I did the audio for this, and it's narrated by Julia Whalen, everybody's favorite audiobook narrator. She, of course, does a fantastic job. I will say this is very, not complex, but there are a lot of twists and turns. You definitely want to pay attention with this one, but I really enjoyed it. Another great addition to the author's behaving badly canon. Finally, my favorite for the week is How Does It Make You Feel, Magda Eklund, and I will tell you about this one, my first impression here in the first video, and then I'll wrap it up with what I thought about it. Hi, so I'm on a road trip for work. I had 5 hours to kill today in the car. So I started a new audiobook, and I'm so excited. I love it. It is How Does That Make You Feel, Magda Eklund. I hate the title. The title does not do anything for me. I can never remember titles when they have the character's full name in them, but this book is wonderful. I featured it on my new release Tuesday video, so when I'm recording, it came out this past Tuesday. And it's about this woman. She's a psychiatrist and she's grieving the loss of her best friend. She somehow gets this woman's ashes and takes her on a road trip because she found her friend's journal, and it turned out that her friend was planning this road trip for Magda's 70th birthday. So she decides to take the trip without her, and I am so enjoying it. I'm doing the audio, obviously, because I'm driving, and it is narrated by Cynthia Nixon from Sex and the City. She's doing a great job. And it's just this wonderful story. It's very life-affirming. It's making me a little bit sad. I mean, obviously, it's about grief. It's about long-term friendship. It's doing the thing I love, especially with contemporary fiction books where you follow one character for a long time. You know that they have had experiences in their lives, and you know that the author is eventually going to tell you about them, but you haven't heard about them yet. So the more that I'm listening, the more I'm learning about Magda, and I'm just loving it. It is set into a couple of parts. Part one I loved. She's a psychiatrist and she is talking about her day to day with her two business partners that she went to med school with. And it's just really witty. And then in the second part so far, she is on this road trip and taking it to various stops. She's losing me a little bit here because she's going back to talk about her childhood and her sister. And, eventually we do find out why her sister and she are no longer in touch, but we'll see where it goes. All right. So as I said in the initial video, it's set into 3 parts: home, the road, and home again. I'm really happy to say that I loved this book. I think I might give it 5 stars, but it's about this woman who is grieving the loss of her friend. I absolutely love what the author had to say about female friendships. I love that she made the point that, if somebody passes away and if they're married, their widow or widower gets a lot of attention and a lot of sympathy, but the same is not extended to that of friendships that end, whether it's via death or via disillusionment. But this was so good. It had great side characters. It is, what's funny is that Magda is a psychiatrist and she needs to do a lot of her own work. And you do sort of get to see her have character growth within this. If you like road trip novels, I recommend it. If you like books with characters that are aging, that are in there, I think she turned 70 in this book. So she definitely talks a lot about getting older and what a blessing it is, but also how difficult that can be, and about just identity and what you want from your end of life. I think this book is so smart. I hope a lot more people read it. And it's a debut, which I always love when I find debuts that absolutely blow me away.
The marshland picked thick drums of heat around the car.
Right now, I'm actually taking a little detour. I pulled off. I'm going to a bookstore, so let's go see. I forgot to tell you the purchases that I made at the bookstore last week. And so I grabbed these 2. They had an amazing horror section, which I thought was so exciting because I don't often see a really huge horror section. But I grabbed 2 books that I had never heard of. One is called Audition by Ryu Murakami. And apparently there's a movie that I've never heard of or haven't seen, but it is about this widower who has lived alone with his son since his wife died 7 years ago. He decides to remarry and he hasn't dated in a while. He's a bit rusty, and so he hires this friend who is a filmmaker, and he proposes that this man stage auditions for a movie that they have no intention of actually producing to see if any of the applicants catch this man's eye. It sounds really creepy and messed up, but he becomes infatuated with a girl, and it sounds like this girl is not who she seems to be. So I think this sounds really good, and I feel like this to be a bit of a revenge / sort of twisted actions type story. I also grabbed Nothing Can Hurt You. This one is a domestic suspense, and it's said to be a gothic Olive Kitteridge mixed with Gillian Flynn, which sounds good to me. It's set in 1997, and a student was killed in the woods surrounding her liberal arts college. Her boyfriend confessed, and his plea of temporary insanity raised more questions than it answered. And so they sort of work backward to try and figure out what happened to this woman. The story is told from a chorus of people that are affected by this young woman's murder, including the person that discovered her body and a juror. It is a propulsive taut tale of voyeurism and obsession, and it examines gendered violence. I, again, think this one sounds like a good pick for me. So one of the things that I do on my TikTok and Instagram page is called New Release Tuesday, where I share about the new books that are being released that day. I hope I can keep it up on YouTube. It's kind of a grueling schedule, but I did want to share some of the new releases that are coming out on Tuesday, November 12th. Number one is Guilt in Ginataan by Mia P. Manasala. And this is a book in the Tito Rosie's Kitchen Mysteries series. If you like cozy mysteries, if you like foodie books, this could be for you. It takes place in Illinois in a cornfield when a dead body is found in a cornfield, and it looks like the main character's best friend might be a suspect, and so they sort of work together to figure out who actually committed the crime. I read book one in the series and it was really cute. You also have The Burrow by Melanie Cheng, and this is a book about a grieving family. They adopt a rabbit to try and bring some levity into their lives, but then their estranged grandmother returns back to the family home and forces them to question everything. It's a tender story that explores love, loss, and the complexities of family bonds. You have Deadly Animals by Marie Tierney. I actually did sample this one. It wasn't for me in the moment, but it's about a 14-year-old girl named Ava who is obsessed with studying animal decomposition. She sneaks out at night, and one night while she's sneaking out, she discovers the body of one of her classmates. She becomes obsessed with trying to figure out who is behind this. More and more teenage girls are being killed, and she's sort of racing against the detective in town to solve the mystery and to solve it before she becomes the next target. I'm Laughing Because I'm Crying is a memoir from Young Me Mayer. She's a comedian, and it is a raw memoir that interrogates whiteness, gender, and sexuality in America. And she talks about her tumultuous childhood between Korea and Saipan and coming to terms with her parents' shortcomings. In Want of a Suspect, this is based off of Jane Austen. It's sort of loosely based on some of their characters, but it's about London's first female solicitor named Lizzie Bennet, who teams up with her love interest, Mr. Darcy, and they investigate a deadly warehouse fire that is tied to Mr. Darcy's past. She's Always Hungry is a debut short story collection from Eliza Clark. I have never read Eliza Clark, and I definitely need to fix that at some point because I hear her books are totally unhinged and worth it. Finally, this week we have Toto. There's been a lot of Wizard of Oz and Wicked books coming out this year, but this is another reimagining of the Wizard of Oz told from a very snarky Toto. So I did something that I never do. I had time to kill, and I thought, you know what, let me go shopping. Let me head over to Goodwill, and boy, did I score. I got this entire bag of things plus some stuff over there. So let's do a haul from the thrift store. So I went in with no real agenda. I don't know what I was looking for. I figured I would just look for some clothes for me and the girls and maybe to see if they had some Christmas stuff. And then of course, what do you know, I wandered into the book section. So I'll show you my first score. My first score is Slewfoot by Brom. And I read this last year. I think it's so fantastic for fall. It's about this woman who inherits a farm. She is an outcast in her community, and there is a battle between the pagans and the Puritans, and basically everybody is assuming she's a witch because she's a woman that has beauty and agency and she speaks her mind. Anyway, I really like this book. There's some beautiful illustrations in here that I did not get to see last time because I did the audiobook. So I'm quite excited. I'm really happy to get this for my shelf. Also, it was $2. Yeah. What a win. Second, I got this big old pot for holiday. I think next year maybe we'll put this on our porch, put some flowers in it or something, but I just thought it was really sweet, and it's very heavy too, so it's very, very sturdy. Got a couple Christmas things. I'm a big fan of plaid when it comes to Christmas, so we'll hang these somewhere. It says, "May your days be merry and bright," and Merry Christmas, and they sort of go together. All right, now we're getting into clothing category. This is what started the whole thing. I can't believe that I found them. These are the loafers that I got. They are Sam Edelman. They're perfectly my size, and they were $10. I have wanted a pair of chunky loafers for literal years, and I had my eye on these ones. I was going to purchase them. They retail for something like $70, so I couldn't believe that I scored them. I'm so excited. I also was really in the mood for a grandpa sweater, and boy, did it deliver. I mean, by the way, I washed all of this because I'm a little squirrely with like bugs and stuff, but I got this sweater. I think it's so cute. I'm going to wear it tomorrow. It is Enrico Romano. I don't know. It sounds, I think it's Italian. I got this sweet onesie for my baby. It's Rachel Zoe. I think it's perfect for holiday. This blazer is one that I've already worn. I wore it to an event I had over the weekend, but it's super soft. It's plaid and maroon. Love that. I got this blanket. This blanket was, I think, $7. But I love it. Look at the colors. I feel like it goes with our decor in the house really well. I'm going to put it in our loft area. I got these jeans. They are cut from the cloth. And they're just black jeans. But what I really liked about them is that they have a raw hem here. I don't have any jeans that have that, and they fit me perfectly. So I'm really pumped about those. Obviously, I'm excited about all of this. This is where I lost the plot a little bit. I should not have purchased these. I'm a little bit sad. They were $7, and I just thought they looked so awesome. Problem is, they do not fit me. They are a little bit small. I cannot even get my foot in, so I don't actually know what I'm gonna do with these. Can you return to Goodwill? Unclear, but I mean, $7. It's not the end of the world. And then I just got some little trinkets. I thought this was gonna be really cute for rings, to put rings in there. I'm gonna put this in our kitchen. This was $4. Then I got this little Christmas tree, more decor. I'll probably put a candle in there. And then this little cup and saucer. Again, it's gonna be somewhere, one of my surfaces to put my rings in, because I'm always afraid that I'm gonna lose my rings, but these were both 99 cents. Excited, I feel like I scored really well. If you're a thrifter, tell me your best thrifting ideas or thrifting hauls. I love to watch them, and so I feel like I'm gonna get more into it. This whole haul cost me, I think it was $85, which that is the price of these loafers. So I'm gonna call this a win. But thanks so much for spending time with me today. I hope you're taking good care. I'm leaning into my community. I'm leaning into my friends and family, and sort of, luckily, when I am going through difficult times, I also find that I read even more. So recent political events have not disrupted my reading, thankfully. I also believe that that is such a privilege, and one that I will continue to fight for so that everybody is afforded the same privilege. But I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.